Hi, I realize in a video presentation I can give a bit more knowledge about myself and give a bit more knowledge of who I am and my skills and knowledge that I've developed in the workplace. So my name is Murtaza and people call me Taz, and this is a presentation about myself. Some of the knowledge and skills that I have learned in the workplace is SharePoint 2007 and SharePoint 2010, and SharePoint is a really great collaboration tool and is now commonly being used in big organizations. I have developed InfoPath 2007 online forms, and the good thing about InfoPath online forms is that you can link it to SharePoint. I have also developed in Visual Studio 2005, 2008 and 2010, and I have developed all different types of projects such as class libraries, console application, websites, Windows application, web services, WCF, Windows services. I also have 2 years experience with AgilePoint Business Process Management System, and Business Process Management System is very great when developing complicated workflows. And the good thing about AgilePoint Business Process Management System is that you can deploy processes to SharePoint as well. I also have developed in SQL Server 2005 and 2008, and I've been using that as our main database for most of my development. And I have developed database diagrams, tables, stored procedures, triggers, views. I have also used SharePoint Designer for SharePoint development, and I have developed such things as web parts and customizing master page and SharePoint workflows. Some of my Visual Studio knowledge is ASP.NET, and I have over 5 years experience with ASP.NET, which includes 4 years experience in C# development, and I've also done WCF development, and I have over 1 year's experience in VB.NET development, and I have done SharePoint development in Visual Studio for over 3 years. Some of the development in SharePoint includes developing workflows in Windows Workflow Foundation and event receivers and list definitions. I've also developed web services in Visual Studio, and I have over 2 years experience in that. Some of my SharePoint knowledge is I have used SharePoint Designer, and I have customized master pages, I have developed workflows, I have developed web parts, and I have linked it with data source. Some of the management system I have used is content management system, document management system such as a document library, forms library. Some of the features I have deployed is features such as web part, workflows, event receiver, and content type. And these are some of the features that you can develop in Visual Studio. Some of the knowledge I have in SharePoint is developing sites, subsites, my sites, STS admin, and in SharePoint 2010 there is PowerShell, and in SharePoint 2007 there's a 12 Hive folder, and in SharePoint 2010 there's the 14 Hive folder. I have developed also wikis and blogs, and I have developed people and group and audience permissions. Some other SharePoint knowledge I have is with Visual Studio I have developed web parts, sequential workflows, state machine workflows, and I have knowledge in business data connectivity, event receivers, list definition, content types, camel query development such as U2U camel query builder, MS Build development, WCF and Silverlight development. Some of the files that get deployed when deploying features is feature.xml, elements.xml, and WSP file, which I have knowledge of. And some of the services SharePoint provides is shared services, InfoPath form services, and Excel services. Some of the books and video tutorials that I have read is Pluralsight and YouTube and ASP.NET. Now these three sites provide a lot of information with .NET development, and Pluralsight also has a lot of information with other development as well. This includes Ajax, this includes BizTalk, this includes SharePoint development, and this includes a lot of other video tutorials as well. And my main focus with Pluralsight is more on the .NET and the SharePoint development. And the good thing about YouTube is we can watch all different kinds of video tutorials in YouTube, and generally when I'm stuck in an issue and I'm trying to debug something, I always will use YouTube as an option if necessary. Some of the Microsoft certifications I've done is MCTS. This is the Application Foundation. This is the web-based client development. And this is the SQL Server development. So I want to give information about how to develop a project, and I'll be using InfoPath as my example here. So the first thing we have to do when developing a InfoPath form is getting the business requirements and getting the business rules. So everything usually starts from a meeting, and in that meeting we might get some layout information from the client, and eventually we'll be developing the prototype of the form and then show the clients. If client is happy with the design of the form and the prototype, then we should go ahead and start developing the functions. Else if the client wants some change, then we have to make the changes. Then we need to add all the controls and the functions. This includes the web services, the link queue to database, stored procedures, tables, and getting information from the database and displaying it in controls in InfoPath forms. When we have completed developing the form, we start quality assurance testing and also workflow testing if implemented. And testing is one of the most important things to do when developing any project. And testing really assures that the product is reliable. When completing testing, we show the InfoPath form back to the client, and if the client is happy, then we're good to go ahead. Else if the client wants some change requirements, implement the change requirements on the form. Then we do some quality assurance testing again on the form and make sure that the product is bug free and it's good to go to live. And then we have to get ready for deployment, convert the form, the web service and database to a production form, to a production web service and to a production database. Then what we do is we wait for the right time to deploy these files, such as the form, the web service and the database. The good idea is to deploy these files when the users aren't using the system a lot. And then at the end we might have to perform some small tests to see if the InfoPath form is loading properly. And that completes a general information of a project life cycle. Next information I want to show is related to a dummy website I created, and this is a bit of the coding here. This is a login, and we can see here when we click on the login, it's shown here. And we can see here we have our business object layer, we have some of our classes here, which inherits master page for this class. We have our admin class, which inherits the page base class, and in our page base this inherits the system.web.ui page, and this performs all the functions. We have included view state, sessions, and this is actually our website. This has all the ASPX pages. This has the user controls. We are using master page here. Here is our login. Here is our login page. We're using CSS here. We're using global access to get application error, and we're using web.config as well. So I'll just play this website. And this is information about the pickup and delivery too. So I've used a bit of Ajax here. So pickup from Mount Druitt, delivery to Minchinbury. So this is the order complete Ajax, and we can insert the weight, the width, and the height. We can add item, and then we can get quote. Okay, so all this information here, the quote price and the discount price, is coming from the database, and let's just show the database. So here's our database. We have all these tables created for our database. We have some database diagrams as well. Okay, we'll just view this. Okay, here's our database diagram, and down here we have all our stored procedures. So let's just look at get item number stored procedure. We'll just modify this, and this gets the item number depending on the from region and to region. So if we just execute this one, and depending on the region depends on what the item number you get. So for this one again, the from region is south and the to region is west, so we're starting with SW. But in this case, the from region is central and the to region is central, and we're getting CC. Now I'll show you of the InfoPath form development I've created here. This is a dummy form that I've created. It's a travel request form, and it's filled with all the controls and all the repeating sections, repeating table, the attachments, and in our data source we have all the fields and the group set up here. And if we just preview the form, we can see the user list, and all this information is coming from the database, and we can submit the form, and when we do that we will submit to the database, and also we can add some flight details here, and these controls with the red asterisk is mandatory. And let's have a look at the database. So this database forms approval, we have some tables here, and let's just click on flight details. Here when we create a form, it adds the flight details in this table, and when we create a form it also adds information to the travel details table. Okay, so that completes a bit of a demonstration about myself and the knowledge that I've gained in the industry, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you very much.